What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today I'm going to be starting the daily upload grind for Modern Warfare. Kind of kicking everything off here, just talking about the game, talking about my plans, I guess, for Modern Warfare, things like that, just kind of giving a little bit of an overview of what I plan to do here on the channel with this game. I've talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but I'd like to go a little bit more in depth on it and everything and kind of give you guys a little bit more of an understanding on it and give a little bit more of my thoughts on the game overall now that I've actually completed the campaign, gotten pretty far into the multiplayer now, and I've also played some of the Spec Ops as well. So obviously this isn't like my final review of the game or anything. I can't really do that after a couple days of the game being out, so kind of like my first impressions, I guess, of Modern Warfare and whatnot, but just kind of want to talk about everything and of course give you guys some plans for the channel. So starting with the plans for the channel, like I have said on Twitter and everywhere else pretty much, I do plan on uploading pretty much daily here on the channel for Modern Warfare. So I want to cover like Modern Warfare news, so like when updates and stuff come to the game, of course I'm going to cover those kinds of topics and stuff and give you guys some of the rundown on what is coming to the game, things like that. I've already kind of done that with previous titles and stuff, so I guess like the old content that I've made I'm going to keep doing going forward, but I also want to like kind of bring back like the old Call of Duty commentary. Like I know a lot of you, you probably do remember way back in the day, like MW2, BO1, you know, all the way up until like BO2 pretty much. There was like, you know, the old Call of Duty commentaries. The COD community used to be popping, man, and I just kind of want to do those kinds of videos, even if they don't perform as well here on my channel and on YouTube in general, simply because I enjoy doing those videos. I think they're fun videos to make. I enjoy just getting on here, talking about the game, talking about gameplay, talking about stuff that's going on in the community, and just making YouTube videos at the end of the day, and that's a good way of just doing it. So I'm going to be doing those, and yeah, that's kind of like what I'm doing with the whole daily upload thing, and on top of that, of course, I will be uploading other games and stuff on the channel from time to time, so that will also be coming down the pipeline, but I will be focusing on Modern Warfare. But anyway, now that I have that out of the way, those are pretty much the two main things I will be doing, is uploading like the Call of Duty commentaries from back in the day. I want to get back into doing those. I did a few of those through BO4 and Modern Warfare Remastered. You guys who did watch them seem to enjoy them, so if you didn't watch them, I do actually encourage you to give them a chance. You might actually really enjoy them. I don't know, we'll see, but I will be starting those next week. Well, actually, it's this week now that it's Sunday, so I'll be starting those this week and going forward, so you'll be seeing those pretty soon. And of course, just going along with what I've been doing, talking about the updates, talking about major news, talking about my opinions on things going on with the game. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about the game with the campaign, because that's like my my big talking point with this game when it comes to like what I really enjoy about this game. If you haven't played the campaign, I'm not gonna give any major spoilers to the campaign here. When it comes down to the story, I'm just gonna kind of talk about the elements of the campaign itself. Now, I feel like Infinity Ward, their strong suits in all of their games have been the campaigns. Like even in Infinite Warfare, which is a game that I did not enjoy the multiplayer in, and I really did not play, I loved the campaign. I couldn't stop playing it, you know what I'm saying? Like once I got into playing it, it was good enough that I had to finish it, even though I necessarily couldn't enjoy the game. But yeah, this game itself has a really good campaign. Like, it's probably one of the best Call of Duty campaigns we've ever seen, if I'm being honest. And I think it lives up to a lot of the hype that they actually built around it when it comes down to, like, how, you know, gruesome it is, how graphic it is, the detail that it goes into around modern combat, the problems with it, things like that. So, like I said, I'm not going to talk about like any of the major spoilers or anything, but I am going to talk about some of the minor things that happen in the campaign here. So, going off of that, the campaign is incredible when it comes down to just, it's super realistic feeling. Like, when you're like breaching buildings and stuff, the way that you're clearing these things, the tactical gameplay of it is, it's adrenaline pumping. Like you're clearing these rooms, you're going through here real slow, enemies will pop out, you're in NVG, night vision and everything, enemies will be popping out, you have to make these, you do really have to make these split-second decisions, because sometimes they're actually not even enemies. Like there's certain situations where you'll be clearing these buildings and compounds and stuff, and it'll be an unarmed civilian, like a woman and a child, they'll like peek out of a bed or something like that, and, you know, you can't shoot them, because if you shoot them, obviously you face repercussions because you killed an unarmed civilian. You can't really do that, so you gotta kind of watch your fire in these situations, but at other times you will be shot if, you know, you're too slow, so you gotta make sure that you're checking your fire, making sure you're shooting at enemies when they're actually, hostile. Sometimes civilians will actually reach for weapons, and then, of course, you will have to shoot them. And in situations like this, there are children literally standing right next to you, and you will have literally killed their mom in front of them, and they will obviously be freaking out. And it's sad to watch, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially when you think about the fact that this actually happens in the real world all the time. And that's one of the things that I think the campaign does really strongly with this game, is the fact that, like, when you're playing through it, you sit there and you think, like, this shit really happens all the time in real life. Like, there's actually service personnel walking through compound buildings like this all the time, having to make these decisions all the time, having to kill people in front of their children all the time because they reach for a weapon, at any given moment. This happens all the time. People have to make these very harsh decisions literally as quickly as possible, and it means life or death for people all the time. Then there's other moments in the campaign where you get to play from civilians' points of view, and you'll see Russian soldiers literally committing just unspeakable acts against civilians. Like, there's a part of the campaign that's giving a little bit of backstory on what's going on, where civilians are running through the street, and a convoy of Russian soldiers pulls up, blocks off the road, and they jump out of the back, and everyone puts their hands up, and they announce, hey, we're unarmed, we're just civilians, we're not helping the militia, because it's a civilian village. They're not helping the militia, which is quote-unquote terrorists that the Russians are there to exterminate, because, that's the point of the view from the West, is that these people are terrorists that need to be exterminated, while these people's point of view is that they're being invaded by the West and they need to defend themselves. But these people are all unarmed, and they're just running from the threat, and the Russians literally jump out of the back of this van and just start literally mowing down unarmed civilians, killing them all, killing children, killing women, and everything else without even second thought. And you have to think, in the year 2019, this is something that Infinity Ward is almost certainly going to face extreme backlash for. This is something that they're going to take heat for. There definitely are going to be articles being written about this. They're going to face media backlash for everything that gets shown in this campaign. And this is not the furthest extent of it. I mean, there's actual terrorism in the missions. There is torture shown in the game. The player actually gets to decide at one point whether or not they want to use a person who's being questioned's family as pawns at gunpoint to get them to speak. All kinds of things. And these are things that, once again, these happen in the real world all the time. And the game refers to this as, taking the gloves off and getting bloody and things like that, and, really scrapping it out. But you gotta really think these are things that actually happen. And I think that, like Infinity Ward really wanted, they said this building up to the release of the game through the campaign and everything, this is something that they wanted. They wanted this game to be thought-provoking when it came down to the campaign. They wanted, when you played this game, much more than any Call of Duty game before, they wanted you to sit there, see what's going on in the game, and they wanted it to be more thought-provoking than any other Call of Duty that's ever really come out before, and I think that they actually succeeded very well in doing this. Now, of course, a video game really succeeds when the gameplay is good, and the campaign, of course, nailed that really well, because the engine did really well in benefiting the campaign. Of course, the NVG was really great in a lot of the new missions. The graphical upgrade is, second to none in Call of Duty. This is the best graphical Call of Duty we've ever seen. The campaign's phenomenal. I mean, honestly, at this point, I would say it's definitely a top 5 campaign in Call of Duty history, in my opinion, and I'm glad that the game kind of presents both sides, it presents, the US military side of, like, we go into this, the enemy uses what they perceive to be like dirty tactics, like people using suicide vests and things like that, and they take the gloves off. Why can't we take the gloves off and just fight really dirty? That's like the West's point of view, because of course there's a lot of rules of engagement and things like that in the West where, you can't fight dirty. You know what I'm saying? The US military doesn't fight dirty. They're not supposed to fight dirty, at least on paper. But then, of course, it also points out how these people in these villages feel here in the Middle East and stuff, where they're being perceived as terrorists by the West, even though many of them are unarmed civilians who are not involved with the fight at all, and they're watching everyone around them be killed by this war that they don't even want to be involved in, you know what I'm saying? So, it's a pretty good campaign. Now, Spec Ops, that's what I want to talk about next. Now, Special Ops is pretty good as well. The survival mode, I think, is just a tad bit bland, in my opinion. Now, I think it's only because there's just 3 maps, if I'm being honest, and in reality, these maps are just giant, so I think that also kind of, like, bores the gameplay down a little bit. Like, when you look at MW3 Survival, most of it, like, it took place on multiplayer maps where they were, like, kind of smaller, so the action was all kind of contained to these areas. Well, in Survival, like, the maps are giant, you know, in Modern Warfare. Like, especially, like, on Anaya Palace, that map is just, it's giant, which that's my least favorite map, along with Piccadilly, in the entire game. And of course, both of them are survival maps, and, well, Piccadilly is a smaller map, but Anaya Palace is a survival map, and even though the enemies spawn somewhat close to you, you know, when you're on the move, like when you're trying to move to the ammo, which is sometimes 200 meters away from you, sometimes you have to wait like 2 waves to get ammo, because it's pretty much impossible for you to get ammo in 30 seconds by running. You can't run 200 meters in 30 seconds between waves and get the ammo for your weapons and, you know, get back to fighting. Like, you gotta wait like these multi-rounds almost to get things that you need, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of. I think that there's way too much space between all these different things. I think if there was like 5 maps, maybe this would be a lot better. Personally, I wish that like Hackney Yard or Gun Runner was a survival map, because those are 2 of my favorite maps in this entire game. They're also 2 like actually good Call of Duty maps in my opinion also, so I mean, it's still fun like when you play it. I'm not saying it's completely boring, but it's not, I don't think it's the same as it was in MW3. At least not right now. We'll have to wait and see. But going on to multiplayer, multiplayer, man, there's a lot to talk about with this one. Now, I like the multiplayer in Modern Warfare. The gunplay and everything is pretty good. I still feel like it's pretty slow, honestly. Like, people are still, it's just a really campy game, man. Honestly, Jesus. They didn't really do anything to that. Like, I wish they would have taken more of that into consideration. Like, at this point, like, I don't know. It's like, is the beta even here to actually take feedback in, or are they just doing it for marketing is my concern here. But like, one of the biggest things with the community with this whole game, with the beta, was like, hey, this game feels way too slow, people are camping too much, they need to do more with that, you know what I'm saying? They need to do more to fix some of the spots on the maps to make sure that people aren't camping in these spots and stuff like that, to make sure people actually move around the map. People actually wanted them to change the UAV to make it like a normal UAV again. Of course, they didn't do that. And also, most of the maps in this game, just they're not good maps, man. Oh my god, I thought the beta maps were just mediocre at best, and it turns out that they're actually like the best maps in the game. I don't know, man, that's crazy to me. But yeah, these maps just, they're not good. But I mean, other than like the maps, the game is pretty good. Like, when you look at the weapon progression, I'm a pretty big fan of that. Like, there's so many weapons where the levels, I think there's like 70 levels per weapon, so there's just a lot to earn there, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot to grind for in this game. And then the camos, I think the camos are pretty cool. Like, the camos they do this weird tiered thing now where, like, instead of getting like 10 headshots, 20 headshots, 30 headshots or whatever to unlock the camos up to gold or whatever, now they have like these tiers of different camo patterns and stuff for different levels, where you unlock them on levels, and then you do different challenges for each different like type to get different colors in that. And then once you get every color on every type for every gun, that's when you unlock, you know, the dark matter in this game. So there's so many camos in this game. There's so much to unlock in this game, and I think that's great. The score streaks are pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Another big problem, honestly, with this game, it launched with a pretty decent lack of modes, but that's something, of course, that will be taken care of pretty quickly. And for me personally, it's not like a huge deal. I'm not somebody who like hops between a whole bunch of different modes anyway. Like, at most, I'll play like Team Deathmatch, Search and Destroy, Hardpoint, Domination, and Headquarters in this game. So those are like the main modes I'm going to play outside of Ground War. So it's not a huge deal that they don't have a lot of these different modes, but I know that a lot of people do actually play other modes. So I don't know, it's been a really weird launch for this game, honestly. Like, it's been weird how the game has worked out so far with how different this one is, because like when you look at the scoreboard at the end of the game, like it's weird. Even in like Domination, like the most kills a lot of the time people will have is like 25. That never happens in any other Call of Duty game, but the maps are just so giant in this game that in a lot of cases, you just can't find anybody, and it's just kind of hard to get kills sometimes. So, I mean, if you look through your leaderboards, you'll notice that a lot of the times, like, people's average kills will be like like 14, which is weird. But overall, I mean, I think the game's good. I think it needs a little bit of work. Like, I think if they actually listen to a little bit of the community feedback, like, I know they're not gonna, fix all the maps and make them better. We'll just have to wait till post-launch maps come. But if they could find a way to speed the gameplay up just a little bit in some spots and, like, discourage camping here and there, and for, like, 6v6, they could just, like, shrink some of the maps, like, cut some of the areas off, this game would be a lot better already. Or if they would just add in like a map thing where you could just select and deselect the maps that you want to queue for, that would automatically make this game better because I would just queue for the maps that I want to play. And there would literally be no problem ever. And then they could figure out real quick like which problems are on which maps, like, oh hey, there's only like 800,000 people queuing for this map while like 3 million are queuing for this map. Oh, there must be a problem on this map. So that's just some of my preliminary thoughts, I guess, on Modern Warfare and whatnot. So thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on my channel. Follow me over on Twitter at @SubToOptimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. It's a surefire way to get notifications of all my newest content. Join the Discord down below. Lots of great things going on down there as well. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, playing Modern Warfare, and signing out.